I grew up in a part of Europe that specializes in human value destruction. It's actually this country and a few other neighboring ones, and it seems that it has a lot to do with this region's history. If you grew up in one of those countries, you had to fight for your dignity, for value and respect in your life, as no one teaches you anything related to self-worth over there. These countries are still like this today, but when I was growing up in the 80s, it was much worse. It was the end of European communist era, and people had much bigger problems on their hands than making sure that their children have a sense of value in life. The reason I moved out of the region I grew up in and moved to England is the value of boosting one's morale through encouragement in British and American cultures. These two countries are very unique in that respect, and especially in Britain, if you combine this with the genuine respect for another human being British people have, you realize how much easier it is to live here and how much more creative freedom a person has. My parents didn't have a clue how to raise us, and they both came from broken homes, and they themselves had a strong deficiency in the areas of self-belief and self-worth. They were both children of World War II, and whereas my mom and her parents were being supportive in my life, my dad and his mother did not have the skills. In fact, they played quite a destructive role when it comes to building my personality. You can bring forth only that which is in you, and I understand their mindset. They had almost no self-respect and no faith in the results of their actions, and it shaped their lives and effectively mine. I was very lucky that out of all these disastrous personalities surrounding me, my mother and her mother for many years were so proud of having a son and a grandson with unique personality that they supported me in everything I was doing. My mother introduced me to art and painting and started my interest in graphics, and to this day on the walls of her apartment you can find some of my early paintings. My grandmother still says that I'm one of the best men she's ever met in her life. When it comes to institutions, the first person in my life who stood out from the ocean of indifference and disrespect was a woman called Eve, who was the director of the state-run kindergarten I was going to. I dreaded that place and that part of my life, and she was the only person who I remember from there who was always warm and emotionally available for me. And because my mom and her were friends, she would always hug me and comfort me when I felt bad in there. The next person who I feel had an impact on the sense of my self-worth was my first-year elementary school teacher. And again, her role was simply not being emotionally unavailable and dismissive like everybody else around me. I just felt accepted being around her. Maybe she did more than that, but I don't really remember. They say that after years you will not remember people's names or faces, but you will remember how they made you feel. I was definitely not wrong about her, because 5 years later our families randomly met at a holiday resort, and that I remember very well. Her being a nice and loving person. I'm listing these people chronologically, and the next person is actually the most important person on the list. It's my 4th grade elementary school teacher. For some unknown reason to me, she saw in me a huge potential, and she said that I will become someone important in life. I have no idea what made her feel like that, but I remember that she gave me an incredible boost of confidence at this stage of my life. I was a crazy kid doing a lot of crazy stuff like stealing cigarettes from her purse and skipping classes to smoke them, but somehow she believed in me, and she would always tell my mom that I'm her favorite student. She always treated me like someone equal, which was so rare that it made me feel incredibly special. I even didn't mind going to school on Saturdays to help her out with some school chores. The last person I can remember is my high school German teacher, and the reason he is still remembered by our class to this day is again his ability to treat everybody like partners with respect and dignity. His attitude was very simple. If you want to learn something, you'll learn it. If you don't want to, there's no way he could make you, so he would do his job and he would just leave everybody to do what they felt was important to them. And through this, he always achieved amazing results with us. His methods could be easily implemented in the biggest global corporations to increase efficiency and productivity. And that would be it when it comes to my journey through the educational system. 3 people. When I made this video, I was counting how many people actually had a positive impact on my life, and it turns out that the number is alarmingly low. Given that it's believed that an average person interacts with about 80,000 people in their lifetime, we should be able to assume that this will give us a lot of opportunities to being supported and encouraged on our journey here. But that's not the case. I can remember 3 people from 18 years of education. In fact, it is much easier for me to make a long list of people who always wanted to discourage me from what I was doing or enjoyed watching me fail and make mistakes. Isn't that something that we all should have an issue with? That most of us can remember only a few people who made a difference in their development, going through a quarter of our lives with people who are supposed to give us the foundations for a happy and creative life? Unfortunately, that's not the goal of most educational institutions. The ability to memorize, repeat, and obey are the exact opposite of what every child needs in their lives to become a fulfilled grown-up. Creativity and independent thinking is being destroyed at every step of the way, and the only thing that is encouraged in schools is compliance and mediocrity. Halfway through my puberty, I realized subconsciously that to have any worth as a valuable member of society, I'll need to take care of it myself, and I concentrated on my interest back then, art and DJing. And I mastered both of them, trying to get as much out of them as possible. I was able to attract people to me through my dedication to developing a unique personality. If it wasn't for that, I would have drowned in the ocean of low self-esteem and self-doubt. My skills allowed me to get the attention of the most attractive and valuable girls in my environment, and it gave me a choice of personalities I wanted to introduce into my life. And then I realized that the encouragement cycle not only applies to early family life, but also to adult family life you will be creating choosing a partner. The women who were on my radar were always these who admired me and what I did, and who encouraged me on my journey. No one talks about this, but this personality trait in your partner is probably one of the most important things you should concentrate on when planning your future. This is the foundation of attractiveness and mutual respect. And it's not something you see frequently in relationships. On my journey as a video producer in recent years, I was able to create a viral video that exposed the toxic nature of the fashion industry. The video was watched by more than 65 million people globally, and I received thousands of messages and comments from models all over the world, telling me their stories. It was heartbreaking to hear how these beautiful girls with seemingly successful and fulfilled lives were in reality nothing more than broken shells of themselves, desperately chasing for mass approval outside of themselves, trying to compensate for what their parents didn't give them or even took away from them. Absence of encouragement and my resulting low self-esteem had a devastating effect on my life, and I want you to learn from my experiences so that you can help yourself and others around you. Out of these 80,000 people you interact with in your lifetime, you'll have a meaningful relationship with about 150 of them. That's 150 occasions to make someone feel amazing about themselves. Each person from those 150 people, thanks to you, will have an opportunity to affect positively lives of other 150 people. You do the math, how many people's lives you can touch this way. You need to actively build others' self-esteem through support and encouragement. It is like vitamin C, your body cannot make it. It needs to come from outside. A personality without a steady dose of reassurance and inspiration will produce a life filled with anxiety, self-doubt, or even self-hatred. Self-worth needs to be actively injected into someone's early stages of development, as it might become a chronic deficiency that will manifest itself in all kinds of ways later. It is really not difficult to do it. All it takes is a few simple and genuine words coming straight from your heart. It really doesn't take much to make people feel great about who they are and what they do. Remember that praise doesn't cost anything and has an enormous power. Applaud the smallest achievements. Both grown-ups and children respond to the same stimuli. You need to catch them doing something right. It will make a difference in their life between "it can be done" and "I can do anything I want." Be more interested than interesting. Genuine attention investment in someone lets them gradually open up to love in themselves. Subscribe to them as a person. Be their first follower, first cheerleader. Accept them for who they are and who they want to be. Treat them as if they already were what they want to become or had what they want to achieve. It will make them envision and get accustomed to what it is that they desire. The best things in every person can be developed by encouraging and showing appreciation. This might make a difference in their life of being an obedient slave of the system, or being someone who changes and creates the system in the future. When you help them to raise above their own limitations, you make them one day do the same for other people. Your tiny amount of will and effort and how you treat them will go a long way and could be responsible for creating the next Wayne Dyer, Joe Rogan, or Jordan Peterson. Your dedication to improving the way they see themselves might start the domino effect necessary to change the future of millions of people. Encouraging others shows your power of character. It says a lot about you by how you treat those who sometimes have nothing to offer to you. Trust me, giving someone hope pays off. Because my grandmother has been such an important supporter in my life, to this day I want to make sure that she's okay. Once I grew up and started making money, I helped her buy her own apartment, and I gave her money she needed to take trips around Europe, seeing places she always wanted to see. Making someone believe in themselves takes a lot of time and effort, but it takes very little to destroy someone's self-worth. Make sure you respect people for who they are. They say you should always be nice to people because they might be fighting a battle inside you know very little of. If you're leading people in any social structure, you will achieve greatness by allowing the student to become better than the master. And this is done by creating a stimulating, nurturing, and supporting environment. Be a loving partner and find someone who respects you and your goals. You find each other to preserve and increase each other's value. And remember that life is only worth living when it is lived in the service to others. Love, Peter. Thank you for watching. Subscribe, like, and share this video.